Hello there folks, welcome back to the Chap's Guide. My name is Ash and I am your host on this journey through men's style, self-development and personal grooming. Now, on your journey and my journey to Chap Nirvana, an important part of that mission in life is eating. It's an enjoyable experience when we're in the company of others, family, friends, and maybe a shared meal are some of the highlights of one's life. So, earlier this week, when my family and I were on one of our regular summer visits to London, we decided to go for a treat meal in a restaurant that we've been to before, more than once, and we deeply enjoy. And that is Rule's Restaurant in London. It is a name that transcends time and style, and many people who enjoy a really hearty meal, Rule's will be the place that they go to when they're visiting London. It's been part of the establishment of the city for many, many years. And we had a fabulous meal this time, as we have had in the past. The consistency is always there. Now, the history of Rule's is very much what you're buying into when you visit this famous, not particularly spectacular looking restaurant, which is right in the heart of London. It's a stone's throw from Covent Garden, and it's very busy as well. I would say this, Rule's is a place that you have to give some consideration to going to way in advance. You can't just walk in there, but more of that in a moment. Rule's purports to be, and I've got no evidence to the contrary, the oldest restaurant in the City of London. It states that it came into being in 1798, remarkably. It's only been owned by 3 separate families over that passage of centuries, and it tells, when you go in there, it's got rich heritage. It's almost become a national institution. Such is the sort of the ambience that you get when you go to Rule's. It is quite the spectacular place that you're going into. It's become as much of a national institution as it is a restaurant. It's something of a landmark to go and visit. And for me, it's up there with places like Wilton's and other famous dining restaurants within the city. Now, booking-wise, as I say, as you can imagine from what I've said, Rule's is very, very popular, and booking is absolutely essential. You simply just can't walk in there and expect to sit down and eat. It's not going to be like that at all, particularly if you're going in the summer months, as I was just this last week, where London is thronged with tourists. It is ram-packed shoulder to shoulder with people at this time of year. It's the summer holidays for children here in the UK right now, in August. It's not a good time really to visit London, but if you're going to go to Rule's for dinner, you've got to book in advance. Now, it's easy to book. You can book online, so you can book from the comfort of your home, wherever you may be. So if you're coming in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, get that booking in nice and early. All you need to do is provide your credit card details, and they will confirm, your booking, and you can put on there anything you need, things like, is it a birthday or a special occasion? And of course they will do the necessary for you. So please think way in ahead. Dinner, so the evening meal, is going to be the most popular. Now, when we visited just recently, we went early afternoon because of our timings when we were in London, things we wanted to do later in the day. It suited us to have a late dinner, 2 o'clock. So we tripped in there, and when you walk in through the door, the ambience and the decor is what really hits you straight away. It is a really fascinating place, unlike most restaurants you will encounter. The place has got 300 years under its belt, all right? We know that for sure. And when you walk in, those centuries are played out in the decor within the place. Now, the dining area is set out in a number of nooks and crannies and little booths. So you always feel as if you're kind of private, so you can speak quite easily to your guests, the fellow diners that you're with privacy, but you also are in quite a large room with, I think, up to 90 other diners. So it's a really personal and cozy experience, even though you're in, a fairly large room. The interior is exactly what you may expect from an old-fashioned London dining house, which is towards the upper end of classiness. It's dark wood panelling. You've got red velvet seating. And on the walls, there are portraits, mirrors, hunting trophies. You've got, antlers from animals that have been shot and served for dinner in there. There's photographs of previous patrons of the place. It's almost like going into a living history museum. There's so much to see. Everything is adorned with this eclectic style of art and memorabilia, which, far from being a bit it actually builds into this sense of opulence, and that there's this tradition and heritage in there. It's really quite fascinating. It's got a homely yet genteel feel to it. As I say, it's, as you might imagine, an old English country house where the lord of the manor, entertains his diners after a shoot on the estate. That's kind of what you get. And it's really rather splendid. The splendid also pays across to the service. Now, you get absolutely polished and professional service in this place. The service leans more towards the formal. The staff are all extremely knowledgeable, incredibly helpful. They'll talk about anything on the menu ad nauseum if you ask them. They're all attired in livery as well. So in the daytime, I was served by a chap who was dressed in court dress, with the proper court outfit. In the evenings, you'll find the waiters wearing evening attire, so dinner jacket, bow tie and the like. So you really get the sense that there's a spectacle about your meal. And they're all, perfectly skilled in what they do. We were there, and we talked about some of the game which was on the menu. And the gentleman talked about, for us, the estate that the birds had come from, the journey that they'd been on to get to the plate. And it gives you a huge amount of confidence in ordering something which perhaps would be ordinarily outside your comfort zone if your server, your waiter, can tell you everything about what you're about to eat. It's very, very helpful. Now, Rules is kind of renowned as a traditional British food dining establishment. It's not haute couture. It's not, really fancy food in there. It's really quite a simple menu, to be honest. And on previous visits, I've had their steak and kidney pudding, and it was without doubt the finest steak and kidney pudding I've ever eaten in my life. Yet if you walked into a restaurant like that and you saw on the menu steak and kidney pudding, you think, what? They're serving, rather a bland, traditional, boring meal? Not at all. Their execution of what you might think is an ordinary menu takes it to a whole new level. There's an emphasis on seasonal food, particularly on game. There's a lot of game served in there, and we visited London this last week within the shooting season, so from the glorious 12th of August, and absolutely we did have some game. I'll tell you what we had in just a moment. But that menu is stacked with hearty, wholesome, gut-busting food. So be sure to wear loose trousers if you're going there, because you're going to have one of the best feed-ups of your life. There's no doubt about that. Now, as I say, we arrived for a late lunch. We weren't going to have a big dinner, so this was going to be the main meal of the day for us. But we didn't go for a full 3-course meal. We opted for what I would describe as just main course and a dessert. That was enough for us at that time of the day. We didn't have a starter course. Now, the starter course is quite strongly weighted, and I've had it there before, with fish, but locally seasoned, sourced fish, things like that. So there are things such as Jersey rock oysters, if you like your shellfish, grilled Cornish sardines, Dorset crab salad, potted shrimps, trout and cucumber tartare. And that's amongst many others. There are other types of oysters from other parts of the UK, but if you love your proper locally sourced fish products, it's the place to go. British seafood at its best. The wine selection, before I go on to the main meal, quite a simple wine selection, to be honest. Traditional, wines from all over the world, or if you want to go, there's also a pre-drinks or a cocktail selection in there, one of which I liked. I've never had it in there. I do promise to do so one day. It's the Black Velvet, which is the cocktail, if you can call it a cocktail, which comes from the collaboration of fine champagne and Guinness, and you get the black velvet, and it's served in rules in a sort of silver tankard. And wow, what an experience. £20, mind, it's not cheap, but it would be something to savour. You can go to the very top end of the menu. I noticed it had bottles of Bollinger champagne at £325 if you want to really splash the boat out. My wife and I, we do prefer lighter wines, particularly in the daytime. I'm not one of these people who, you know, if I'm going to have a red meat, I will necessarily have red wine. Personally, I don't like red wine. The tannins in red wine give me a bit of a headache and really dry me out. So I prefer to have light, crisp white wines, to be honest. And we opted for a Sauvignon Blanc from the Marlborough region of New Zealand, and that was £65 a bottle. Not cheap, but then you're having a nice meal in one of the finest restaurants in London, so per se one of the finest in the world, and I really enjoyed that wine. Now for our meal, what did we go for? 3 of us were dining, my wife and I and our young son, 14 years of age, young Alex. So my wife and I, we opted for a platter for 2, so this was a rib of beef for 2 people, and that was £49.50 each, so about 100 quid, and this was our meal. So a big copper platter arrives at the table, and your rib of beef has been carved into your bits ready to eat. You also got buttered fresh greens, so cabbage and that sort of thing, and a Yorkshire pudding to die for. A huge Yorkshire pudding was available, was on the table in that platter, and superb, absolutely superb. Served with a red wine jus as well, so kind of a gravy. Oh man, and the horseradish cream which was served with that was unlike any I have ever tasted before. The slithers of horseradish were in there. It had a kick on it, mind, kicked like a mule, but it was so smooth and velvety I couldn't help but trough it all down. It was wonderful, and it was really you know, a spectacular delivery, and the food itself was superb. We'd ordered it medium, and it was perfectly cooked. Absolutely amazing. One of the finest meals I've had ever, full stop. My son is a very adventurous diner, right? You know, when we go on holiday, he's the kid, bizarrely, when he was young, who was ordering octopus and the various things in the Mediterranean, which us maybe more traditional British diners will balk at a little bit because, you know, we're unfamiliar with them. It's not part of our normal diet here, so you wouldn't necessarily take the plunge and order it in a restaurant. My son has always been a little bit more game to eat things that he's not familiar with. So he opted for a young grouse. There was a little sign on the table indicating that the grouse shot in Rule's Pennine estate had already made their way down to the table. I think we were there sort of the 20th or so of August, and the shooting season only opened on the 12th, so pretty quick service. You know, they do tell you on there, be careful as you're eating this stuff, because there's still going to be some lead pellets in there, likely from when the thing was shot. We didn't find any of that, unfortunately. We did go looking for it, but my son ordered a grouse. The waiter was incredibly helpful. He said, you know, how would you like it? Would you like it medium cooked? Would you like it carved? If you've never had one before, you can have the whole bird on the table, or we'll carve it up for you, make it nice and easy for you to eat. So that was all done, came carved to the table, again with buttered greens, with these sort of waffle cut potato chips included as part of that. We also ordered a little platter of French fries for the table, just to sort of, you know, go a bit more traditional, if you will. And they were superb as well. To be fair, the grouse, when it came to the table, you know, I thought, is my son going to eat this? Is it his thing? I mean, I knew I would eat it if he didn't, so it wouldn't go to waste. And it was, I think it was £50 for the grouse. But, you know, it even came with its little feet, its claws still attached. And I thought, oh, it looks a little gnarly here. Is it going to bother the lad? Not at all. He was in there, like Flynn, putting it down his throat, no worries at all. And it was served with a red currant jelly and even a slither of bacon to add flavour to the meat as well. So exceptionally well cooked, exceptionally well delivered, and quite the experience. When we put all that down, you know, you're feeling a little bit heavy at this point, but there's always the dessert course. And knowing, as I did, that I would be telling you about this experience, I thought, well, I can't omit dessert. I just have to spend more time in the gym next week. And believe me, I was in the gym yesterday and I had to put some time in to sweat this stuff out. Because desserts at Rules are very much part of the traditional British dessert route. You know, you're going to get raspberry and apple crumble, upside down peach cake, and you've got some stalwart favourites there, like there was Stilton and things like that. You know, your good old gut busters, the stuff that sticks to the inside of your ribs when you swallow it. And they are the best, I tell you. I opted for the Rules Golden Syrup Sponge, £10.95, and it was amazing. You know, you get this nice pudding, bathed in syrup, served with a dollop of cream, and I also opted for their suggested wine pairing. So having consumed the crispy white wine with main dinner, I went for a glass of Blandy's Rich Madeira, which was £7 extra, so not crushingly expensive, but my word, when they choose the pairing with the dessert and the dessert wine, or the Madeira in this case, oh man, I could taste that Madeira hours afterwards. Such was the memory of the flavour in comparison with the dessert. It haunted me later that night. Such was its magnificence. It was wonderful, and you know, I had to sort of take note of the brand Blandy's, because I thought, this is something I have to own. It was so good, you know. So certainly in dinner parties in my house in the future, if you get invited, be ready for there to be a wine pairing with dessert. I've never been that fancy in the past. I've done once or twice, but from now on, I'm making the effort, because wow, the olfactory and the taste memories, amazing. My wife opted for the Rules Sticky Toffee Pudding, also £10.95, and she went for the paired wine choice as well, which was an Andalusian sherry at a cost of £8. So all in all, oh man, what a meal that was. I mean, Rachel's sherry, I had a little sip of it. How can I describe it? It tasted like Christmas. The flavours, the smells had been condensed into a glass and you could drink it. It really was like Christmas in a glass. And in conclusion, the meal itself was memorable, right? Not just because it was in a spectacular place, not just because it was served with such great manners and skill by the waiting staff. Incidentally, as I said, Rules seats about 90 people. There are 90 staff who work in Rules. Obviously people in the kitchen, front of house, back of house, but they have roughly an equal number of people working there to the number of diners per sitting. So you know you're going to get high quality. Of course it's expensive, all right? Our bill came to over £300 all in. But then we did throw caution to the wind. We did have a wine. We did have, you know, a wine with the dessert as well, which bumped the price up. This is a once or twice in a year extravagance for us as a small family. There's only 3 of us. If I had 8 kids, I wouldn't be doing it, believe me. But because there's only 3 of us, and we love to expose our son to dining experiences like this, which certainly me and my wife never had growing up in very blue-collar, you know, childhood journeys, I want him to know the difference between quality, standards, and what working hard and having money can buy you. These are the privileges which come from a life of toil and endeavour, aren't they? So, you know, yes, it was a very expensive meal. Probably cost as much as our hotel, if not more. But it will linger in my memory, and certainly my son's memory, for his lifetime. I can only say to you that if you're ever in London and you're thinking about having a treat meal, certainly Rules has to be at the top of your list. It's a fully immersive experience where when you're eating there, you are enveloped in the world of heritage and custom and tradition when it comes to the British dining experience. And you know, good luck to you if you get to go there. I may not go there for many years because, as I say, it's a treat, but I'll always remember it, and I look forward to going there at some point again in the future, because I'm sure It will not have changed one bit. So there we go. Hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, like the video, subscribe for more. You can buy me a coffee to thank me for my endeavours. You can become a patron if you'd like to benefit from the additional video content that I make each and every week for those patrons who are, of course, members of my extended family. And send me a question via the comments or even via email. I'd love to hear from you. So until the next time, bon appetit.